Lagos. Yomi, what exactly is the situation of things? Are they done voting? Is voting still on in places where you are at the moment?
Yes, thank you, Sulai. I'm actually at Ekore. It's a part of Oworo-Shoki, and if I can just tell you that Oworo-Shoki has like 59 polling centers, and there was no voting at anywhere in Oworo-Shoki yesterday. But today, people have turned out to cast their ballots. They've been weathering the storm. It's been hot, really hot here. But the people are resilient. They say they must cast their vote. Accreditation is almost done in almost all of the areas. I've been to Awolowo Road, I've been to Miyaki, I've been to Pako. Accreditation is done, but in some areas, ballot papers are still being expected, and the people are a bit uneasy in such areas. But in Agbeke Street, voting is already ongoing, and a few other centers, voting is ongoing. It's been peaceful, and security operatives have also been patrolling the area to ensure that there is peace and law and order is maintained. And so far, it's been peaceful here in the Oworo-Shoki. It's just that the people have been a bit disenchanted, but why should they have to come the next day? Well, they have issues with card readers. Mainly, that was the main issue, was that the card readers couldn't perform. Out of about, I think, 89 that was brought here at the different centers in the Oworo-Shoki, only about 5 worked, and the people have to come back today to make sure that they vote.
Are they excited? I'm talking about the electorates, the voters who came out today. How excited are they, knowing full well that they haven't been disenfranchised by the awful incident of yesterday?
Sulai, it would interest you to know that the excitement is, how will I say, is turbocharged, because despite the sun, people came out, and there was this, old man that came. Somebody had to bring him. He's about 88, and he said, he thinks that this election is the one that would help our children and our children's children. I could see a lot of old people, despite their frailty, they are here to make sure that they cast their ballots, and I think the people are just ready to make sure that their votes will count.
Well, anyway, enjoy the sunshine. Yesterday, it wasn't, so sunny for loads and loads of people here in Lagos and other parts of the country. Well, soak yourself in it, and, we'll get back to you. Thank you, Yomi. Well, very soon, right about now, let's see what Austin has for us. He's been covering Isheri North specifically. Austin, now to you.
Well, the waiting game continues for the people of Isheri North in Koshofe, local government area of Lagos State. It seems there is hope for them to vote today. INEC kept to their word, and the officials are on ground. They're stamping the forms now. The people are arriving for voting. Let me just tell you the story of what happened in this community yesterday. As early as 7 a.m., they gathered here for accreditation, waited till about 10. INEC didn't show up. At 11, INEC officials came, and then accreditation started. But it was a really slow process because of the issues they encountered with the card reader. Accreditation finished at about 9 p.m. and INEC told the people to go because voting will not take place. They didn't take that for an answer because they insisted that they will vote. INEC promised that they will be back today to do the voting, and so INEC is back on ground. I've seen about 2 policemen. The place is calm and orderly. The people are not causing problems. About 1,000 persons registered and 382 got accredited, so it's about that number that will be voting today. Isheri North, the Resident Association chairman, is around. He's been talking to us. We'll just speak to him briefly.
Most of them didn't go to church because they want to perform their civic right, which is very, very commendable, and I'm so pleased to even see them here. Some of them have been here as early as 8 o'clock when the INEC promised to be here. Most of them have been here as early as 8 a.m. Waiting, saying we must have to vote today. And I've gone around to calm them, no problem. And they said today is today, they will make sure that they vote. And of course, what the community is saying is that what happened yesterday, we do not want it repeated at the next election.
So, that's the story from Isheri North in Koshofe local government area of Lagos State. The people here have said until they get an assurance from INEC that voting materials will be available, they will not come out for the governorship elections. The update now is that voting has commenced, but it's still a rather slow process because it's just 2 INEC officials on ground. And until voting is completed for this group, the waiting game continues. Austin Okon-Akpan reporting for Channels Television News.
I think that's the place not too far from where Malaki did say he had a peep of barbecue. Well, I hope they wouldn't be having any barbecue today. They should be out of that place pretty fast because also I caught a glimpse of the voters in this particular area yesterday, how patiently they waited late into the night, and that explained why they got seats. And they were pretty well on point with the canopies.
Very organized.
Very organized,
yes.
And they waited patiently for that particular process. What comes to mind here now is what we have always emphasized, and it is a belief thing, having the belief and trust in the process. Austin started by saying that INEC kept to their word. It's a promise kept, not promises broken, as we have seen with so many other things around that country. How much of faith building have we been able to gather so far as we move on? Malaki, help me on that.
Oh, well, now, I think that the entire trajectory of our experience, political experience, has added up to reinforce the conviction of Nigerians that they have no choice really other than to believe in the processes that they have. And I say this because in spite of the limitations that are apparent, they have managed in one way or the other to get around the challenges they have. And these things are almost clearly seen. First is that you could count on your fingertips, I mean, a number of polling units where even before the arrival of INEC officials, you see the electorates organizing themselves, such as taking numbers, doing it in such a way that when INEC comes, they will not have to deal with those preliminary challenges. We have mentioned how in so many cases you have them supporting each other. These elderly ones were given seats to sit down. I mean, it was turned into a carnival of a sort in which people were encouraging the others to be sure that they don't live the same. And the fact that Nigerians did not resort to the usual restiveness, to come back the next day only to organize themselves and remain resolute to participate in that, means that there is some measure of confidence already reposed in the process. And I would like to tell you that as a lawyer, these are all the elements of the process that, that raises the legitimacy quotient of the exercise, because the participatory nature of this process is what vests the outcome with the legitimacy. And it became very interesting because even with the apparent lapses or shortcomings of INEC, for instance, after accreditations, there were so many police stations in which we had, in my own polling center, there were no result sheets. But that did not detract from the determination of the people to also wait and hear that the result sheets have arrived. And ultimately, it did arrive, and then voting started. There were other instances in which we had that there were no backup for the card reader. And that reminds me of, again, what happened in Otoke. I had raised the concern that if in Otoke you had 4 backup card readers, then perhaps in the post-election analysis, we also want to know whether you had 4 backup card readers in virtually all the polling units in the country.
Well, I recall that you raised that issue, and one of
presidential privileges.
Yes, it was presidential privilege. But one of the issues that definitely stands out for me is the issue of trust, because if you look at what happened this morning, we had taken on the INEC chairman spokesperson, Kaidedu, on the issue of what transpired in many places in Lagos, where we watched that in most places the accreditation process started without the ballot papers being present. In some cases, frantic calls were being made to your supervisors that accreditation is almost finished now. We thought that it could be a local process put in place by the, say, the resident electoral commissioner to ensure that people truly finish the accreditation process first
Yes.
Before voting begins. But it also takes an element of trust from the electorate to let that process happen. Because if you also listen to what happened in Rivers State, where the governor was demanding to see the result sheets first before the accreditation even begins, maybe we begin to appreciate the level of trust that these people have exercised.
Earlier you asked me what I think has been the defining moment in this election. I think that is a defining moment, and the fact that Nigerians are willing to trust, to put their faith in the process and hope for the best. Obviously, that's all they can do. I think that's a defining moment. Imagine what we saw earlier. Yesterday, they couldn't vote. They finished their accreditation really late, but they came back this morning. That is so atypical of Nigerians. It's like, you know what, I don't need the stress. I have my life to live. You know, but they showed up and they organized themselves. So I think...
I'm sorry there. I have to stop you there.
Sure.
Well, our in-house consultants are still very much around, as well as Malaki Gumadu. You two will stay back, but we'll go on a short one. When we come back, we'll have the young and vibrant. I don't like when people say young and restless. No, the young and vibrant that have been following things, this particular issue, and for some, they just turned 18. Yes, this is the first election for some category of persons in that category, and we'll be talking with them when we come back on the other side of the hour.